Okay, today's topic is development of the heart. So today we'll briefly study about the development of the heart here. So as you know, you might have studied the development of the embryo in the first, second, and third week of development. So in this picture, the same embryo is being shown here. Okay, so this is the dorsal view of the late pre-somite embryo. Okay, before the somites are formed, that is called as pre-somite. This is the stage, approximately 18 days. 18 days of the development. That is the third week of development of this embryo. Okay, this is the view, dorsal view of this same embryo being developed. Okay, after removal of the amnion, when you remove the amnion is on the top and yolk sac will be below, as you know, and the embryo will be developing. And if you remember, this is how it looks like. This is how it looks like. Okay, below will be the amnion, and below will be the yolk sac, and here will be the embryo. So this is the same picture shown here at the 18th day. Okay. The prospective myoblast and hemangioblast reside in the splanchnic mesoderm in front of the neural plate and on each side of the embryo after migrating up from the primitive strake. If you remember the primitive strake, so this is the primitive node, and after migrating, if you see here, this is the arrangement of the myoblast and blood islands. So it is very early stages of development where still the heart is not formed. Slowly there are formation of the blood island, small blood islands, after which they join together to form a larger area. So still the heart is not there. So it is the primitive stage of the development of the heart. If you take a transverse section of the same, this embryo at this level, if you take the same embryo section and you see from the front, then you see this is how it looks like. Okay. The transverse section through a similar stage embryo to show the position of the blood islands in the splanchnic mesoderm. If you see here, so here are the blood islands. What you are seeing here in this picture, so these blood islands can be, if you take a section at this level, this is how it is seen. Okay, so it is covered by the splanchnic mesoderm. This is the splanchnic mesoderm on either side. So this is the intra-embryonic cavity. Okay, and below will be the yolk sac, above will be the amnion. Okay. Now, with time, the islands unite and form a horseshoe-shaped endothelial line tube surrounding by the myoblast. Okay, this region is known as the cardionic field. Now, slowly there is joining of all these islands. As I said before, it will be many islands. Then they will all join together, coalesce together to form a horseshoe-shaped endothelial line tube surrounded by myoblast. So this region will be called as the cardionic field where the heart, future heart will be formed. In addition to the cardionic region, other blood islands appear bilaterally parallel and close to the midline of the embryonic shield. These islands form a pair of longitudinal vessels, the dorsal aorta. So there will be formation of two types of the blood islands. One will be forming the cardionic field that will be forming the heart, and then the other islands will form the dorsal aorta. If you see here, this is how it looks like. You see here, these are the angionic cells, and here is the formation of this splanchnic pleuric mesoderm, and slowly here is the cardionic area, and here are the aortas being formed, primitive aortas. Now, if you see here, so here you can see, appreciate, these are the myocardium is outside and the endocardial tubes. There are two tubes, okay, right and the left, and there will be two aortas. Primitive aortas will be two, right and left. Okay, so even if you see sometimes if these uh, don't develop as should be, then you can see sometimes very rare, but you can see double aorta. So there are stages where these two aorta persist, and then it leads to formation of this two primitive aortas. Okay, So actually one will disappear. We'll see how what will happen to these two aortas, how they become one. Okay, and there are two the endocardial tubes which will again also join together to form one. So if the same picture is seen from the longitudinal section, if you take a longitudinal section, this is how it looks like. If you take a longitudinal section in the midline of this embryo, then it looks like this. This is the pericardial cavity and the cardiogenic area. So here is the heart. So it is above, here will be the mouth. So it will be above the mouth. Initially, as you know, during development, the heart will be above the mouth and the pericardial cavity is outside on one side, only on one side. So still it is not covering the cardiogenic area and here will be the mouth and here is the developing brain, as you know all these things. Okay, so the cephalocaudal section through a similar stage embryo showing the position of the pericardial cavity as well as the cardiogenic field. So this is the cardiogenic field and the pericardial cavity, and it is above the mouth near the on the top of the embryo. Head is here, the brain is developing here, mouth is here, and the pericardial cavity is above that. Okay. Later, as you know, it will bend. The fetus will bend itself. Okay. So the head end as well as the tail end. This is called as the foldings of the embryo, as you remember. So this is all covered before. So the foldings of the embryo during development, if you have studied in the GAD course, there you have studied the bending of the embryo and other things. So here is the bending of the embryo, the head end as well as tail end. When the embryo bends, folds, then the heart tubes will come forward. So initially they were on the above, as I said, on the top. Now they are coming down. So here this the diaphragm which will be above that. So that will come below. The heart will come below, and diaphragm will go below that. Okay. So now the cardiogenic area is coming down, as well as these aortas, primitive aortas are also getting bent. Okay, you can see here, this is the folding of the primitive right and left dorsal aorta. Okay. So these are called as ventral aorta now, these are called as the dorsal aorta. So these are the right and left primitive heart tubes. So there are two heart tubes. Okay. Later what happens to these two heart tubes will join together to form a single heart tube. So initially there will be two, as we saw in these pictures, there will be two heart tubes. They will bend initially and then they join together to form one. Now if you see the dorsal aorta, so there are two dorsal aorta, these also join together. If you see here, these two have joined together to form a common dorsal aorta. Common dorsal aorta. Okay, so this is being happen. One is there is joining of the heart tubes as well as the aorta being joined together to form a single aorta. Okay. Now we'll study these heart tubes. What happens to these heart tubes? There were two heart tubes joined together to form a single heart tube. Now we see the parts of this, the four chambers within, which are within this heart tube. So there are four chambers which are near the dorsal aorta. That is will be called as the bulbus cordis. Then below that there will be primitive ventricle, then the primitive atrium, and the lowermost will be called as the sinus venosus. So this heart tube, which were two joined together to form a single heart tube, then there are cavities formed within that, or differentiation of this heart tube into four chambers: bulbus cordis, primitive ventricle, primitive atrium, and the sinus venosus. Okay. Now, what will be developing from this each of these chambers? Because the formation of the cardiac loop is there, and what develops from each of these? So these are the sinus venosus, which will divide into two: the right horn as well as the left horn, and they form the superior vena cava and part of the right atrium. The sinus venosus, which is the lowermost. Okay, so this will develop into the superior vena cava as well as part of the right atrium. Then above that is the primitive atrium. So this primitive atrium forms the anterior part of the right as well as the left atria. So the right and the left atrium anterior part will develop from this primitive atrium. Then above that is the primitive ventricle. So this is the primitive ventricle, from where most of the left ventricle, only the left ventricle develops from this primitive ventricle. Most of the left ventricle develops. and above that is the bulbous cordis. Bulbous cordis, as you can see here, is the bulbous cordis, the same here. So forms most of the right ventricle. So the primitive ventricle will form most of the left ventricle, and the bulbous cordis will form the right ventricle, most of the part of the right ventricle, and part of the outflow tract for the development of the aorta and the pulmonary trunk. Not only the right ventricle, but also the aorta and the pulmonary trunk have been developed from this bulbous cordis. Okay. Now, if you see here, this bulbous cordis will slowly start folding. Okay, so if you see here, the right ventricle is here on the top, but the primitive ventricle that develops in left ventricle is below, and atrium is here. So now the bulbous cordis will come down. It will descend downwards. If you see here, this is the bulbous cordis. So this will descend downwards. Okay, now it is descending downwards. So the bulbous cordis moves inferiorly, anteriorly, and to the embryo's right of the embryo. Okay, so it will descend downwards, anteriorly, and towards the right side of the embryo. Okay, so it has come down. Now here is the right ventricle, primitive right ventricle. Now here is the left ventricle, and the atria are gone behind. Now they have gone behind, right and left atria. So now you can see the differentiation. Now this are developing into the primitive atrium. The primitive ventricle has become the left ventricle, becoming the left ventricle, and the bulbous cordis is forming not only the right ventricle but also the truncus arteriosus, from where the aorta as well as the pulmonary trunk will develop. So all these are being formed here from the bulbous cordis. If you take a section, the vertical section, now you can see there is communication between the ventricle, that is the left ventricle, or the primitive ventricle, which is called, develops into right, the left ventricle, and the bulbous cordis, which will be the primitive right ventricle. So there is a communication between the right and the left ventricle. Okay, and the atrium are being divided into two separated. Initially there will be one cavity, now they will be divided into two cavities. So before we go further, we should know what happens if this cardiac looping will get abnormal. Okay, so the abnormalities of the cardiac looping. Cardiac looping is this one. From here, as a long tube, now it is getting fold. So if this folding goes abnormally, so what happens? Then it leads to a condition called as dextrocardia. Dextrocardia, in which the heart lies on the right side of the thorax instead of on the left side, is caused because the heart loops to the left instead of the right. As you can see here, the heart has, the bulbous cordis has looped towards the right. So if it gets looped on the left side, then the whole of the heart moves towards the right side, and that leads to a condition called as the dextrocardia. Dextrocardia, where the heart is present on the right side instead of the left side. So sometimes the dextrocardia may coincide with the situs inversus. Situs inversus. What does it mean? Situs inversus is a condition where all the structures which are supposed to be on the right side will be on the left side, and the structures which are supposed to be on the left side will be on the right side. So the liver will be on the left side instead of the right side will be on the left side. The stomach will be on the right side instead of the left side. So everything, all the organs will be in the opposite direction, where the heart will be also in the opposite direction, that is on the right side. So dextrocardia can be only one abnormality sometimes. Sometimes it can coincide, join with the situs inversus, where all the organs are on the opposite side. Okay, so this is because of the abnormal looping. If this looping, instead of the bulbous cord is coming toward the right side, if it loops on the left side, then it leads to this condition called as the dextrocardia, abnormality of the cardiac looping. Now going further, now the atria. Now we are studying the atrium. So you are seeing the atrium behind, they have gone behind. What happens? How they are one chamber, right? So from here the atrium will be developing. As you can see here, this is the primitive atrium. It is a single chamber. Now how it gets separated into right and left chamber? Now if you see here, this is the atrium. Okay, so this is the normal development of the atrium. Okay, So here slowly there is development of a septum in the middle of the atrium. Atrium will be a single chamber. Now there is development of a septum called as the interatrial septum. So this is called as the first septum. So it is called as the septum primum. Septum primum, because it is the primum, the first. Okay. So this septum will start descending downwards. If you see here, it starts descending downwards, and there is formation. Even there is AV canal here through which the atrium is communicating with the ventricles. As you can see here, they are all tube, single tube, all single tube. So here was the primitive ventricle. As you can see here, this is the primitive ventricle. So there is communication between the atrium and the ventricle. Okay, so there is easy communication through the AV canal. Now there is formation of a small septum intermedium. There is formation of a septum intermedium between the atrium and the ventricle. So now the space between the septum primum and the septum intermedium, this space is called as the foramen primum. Foramen, foramen means opening, primum the first one. Okay. So now if you see here, this is the arrow showing the septum is developing downwards from above. Okay. Now what happens? This septum gets separated from above and goes and get attached to the septum intermedium. If you see here, this is the septum intermedium. Now it has separated, septum primum has separated from above, and now it has gone and joined with the septum intermedium. So now the foramen primum has disappeared. Now there is a second foramen has developed. This is called as the foramen secondum. Foramen second. This is the primum first, and secondum is the second. So initially it was below here. Now with the septum primum coming and joining with the septum intermedium, now there is formation of the septum secondum above. Okay. Now what happens? Now there is formation of something called a septum secondum. If you see here, this is the septum secondum. Okay, so this is the septum primum. This is the foramen primum. You should be able to differentiate between the septum and the foramen. This is the septum primum. This is the foramen primum. Now this is the formation of the foramen secondum. Now just beside the septum primum, which has already broken down, now there is formation of a second septum. This is called as septum secondum. This is very important because later we'll see. I will talk about that. So this septum secondum will descend downwards, and there is a communication. Still there is communication, small communication between the right atrium and the left atrium. So this is called as the foramen ovale. This is called as the foramen ovale, where the blood will be communicated from the right atrium to the left atrium. So this will be present throughout the fetal life. During the fetal life, this septum, the foramen ovale will be always present. But after birth, suddenly after birth, this foramen ovale will close. This foramen ovale is there. Okay. So the foramen ovale will close after birth because of the increased pressure on the left side, because the lungs will open and they start pumping the blood into the left atrium. So the pressure increases and this will close. And if this doesn't close, that it leads to a condition called as the hole in the heart. You might have heard people saying that there is a hole in the heart because the septum primum, this is the septum primum, doesn't fuse with the septum secondum, and there is communication between the right atrium and the left atrium through the foramen ovale. So this is called as the hole in the heart. Okay. So after the fusion between the primary septum or the primum septum and the endocardial cushion of the atrioventricular, if you have seen, again we are discussing the same thing. So septum primum has formed here. It is descending down. Now this is the atrioventricular cushion or endocardial cushion of the atrioventricular canal. The upper part of the septum septum primum disintegrates to form the ostium secundum. If you see here, it is initially there is formation of the ostium or the foramen, or both are same. Here it has mentioned foramen primum, and here is the foramen secundum. Foramen is same as that of the ostium. Ostium means opening. Foramen is also opening. Okay, this is called as the ostium primum. Okay, now when the cushions will join together, there is formation of the ostium secundum or the foramen secundum. Okay, now there is a second septum developing just beside the septum primum. This is called as the septum secundum. So development of the ostium secundum occurs during the 5th or 6th week of the embryonic life. So at a very early stage, now still the heart is being formed, still it is not formed. Okay, up to the, so 1.5 month after the fertilization, still there is formation of the heart of the fetus. Okay, so during the 5th or 6th week of the embryonic life, there is still formation of the ostium secundum. Okay, the remaining part of the septum primum becomes flap valve of the oval fossa. So this remaining part of the septum primum will become the flap valve. This flap valve, along with the muscularized anterior inferiorum, form the true septum that separate the cavity of the atrial chambers. Okay, so this will descend downward, joined with the endocardial portion. Now there is formation of the septum secundum. Okay. So now again we will discuss what will happen if there are these septums are not formed properly. Then it leads to a condition called as the atrial septal defect, which is in the layman's they call it as the hole in the heart. So that is nothing but the atrial septal defect. So because in the atria, the septum, the interatrial septum, this is the form the interatrial septum. So there is a defect openings if they are present, then it leads to atrial septal defect. So there are different types of atrial septal defect. These are called as ASDs. So there can be ostium primum ASD, failure of the fusion, the failure of the septum primum to fuse with the endocardial cushion. So if this septum primum doesn't divide here and joins with the endocardial cushion, then this cavity will remain open. So ostium primum will remain open. Then it is called as the ostium primum ASD, that is atrial septal defect. Sometimes the ostium secundum ASD can develop inadequate development of the septum secundum or excess reabsorption of the septum primum. So if the septum secundum doesn't develop properly, or if there is more reabsorption of the septum primum, that leads to a condition called as the ostium secundum ASD. Ostium secundum, this is ostium secundum, atrial septal defect. Okay, so this defect will remain even after birth. Okay, then there is a condition called as the patent foramen oval, which I was discussing before. Inadequate fusion of the septum primum with the septum secundum. As I said, so this is the septum primum here. This is the septum secundum. They are developed well. Okay, both the septum primum and secundum have developed well, and there is a communication during fetal life. It is normal, but after birth it should close, but it doesn't close even after birth. Okay, then it leads to called as a condition called as the patent foramen ovale, patent foramen ovale, or the hole in the heart. So that is the patent foramen ovale, where the foramen ovale, which is supposed to close, it remains patent. Inadequate fusion of the septum primum with the septum secundum. So this is how it looks like. So the right atrium is communicating with the left atrium. So all the deoxygenated blood which is coming from the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, it is supposed to go into the ventricle and from there into the lungs and get oxygenated. But because there is no proper development, now the blood deoxygenated blood is directly going into the left side, and from there it is pumping into the different parts, but it is deoxygenated. Okay, so it leads to uh, less supply of the oxygenated blood. So here, if you see here, these are the inferior endocardial cushions. This is the endocardial cushion between the atrium and the ventricle. See the ventricles. Still the septum is being developed. Still there is no development of the septum between the ventricles. We'll talk about that. Okay. So these are some of the different conditions of the atrial septal defect. So here this is called a septum secundum defect. We have seen septum primum and the secundum. Okay, septum primum, if the septum primum has not descended downwards, then it leads to the septum primum defect. And if it has joined with the cushions below, but the septum secundum has not developed, then it leads to septum secundum defect. Okay. And now here there is no septum at all. There is a condition where the atrium initial development was one single atrium. Then there was formation of septum. Septum sometimes it fails to develop. Then it leads to a condition called as common atrium, where both the atria are communicating with each other without any septum. There is no septum at all. Sometimes this foramen oval, I said, so foramen oval will be communicating with both the atria will be communicating to the foramen oval till birth, till birth, okay, till the baby starts taking the first breath. But in case of some conditions, it will close even in fetal life. Suddenly it closes very early. This is called as premature closure of the foramen oval. Foramen oval is here. So if it closes, premature closes, then it leads to all the blood instead of going into the from the right atrium to the left atrium, which is normal in case of the fetus. Now it starts flowing into the right ventricle, from there into the pulmonary trunk, then it goes directly into the aorta here. So it starts communicating with the aorta and it is pumped here. So all the deoxygenated blood is going into the aorta. Okay, so this is called the premature closure of the foramen oval. And there is hypertrophy of the right ventricle as well as underdevelopment of the left ventricle, because all the work is done by the right ventricle and there is no work for the left ventricle. Okay, then there is something called as the persistent AV cushion canal. Okay, because I said here there is development of the AV cushion. Okay, if it doesn't develop here, then it leads to communication of the atrium from the ventricle. So there is persistent AV canal. Okay, so there is communication, common AV canal. So where through which the atria and the ventricle are communicating with each other. So there is ASD, atrial septal defect, as well as VSD, ventricular septal defect. Both defects are there because there is no the middle part, that is the endocardial cushion. So this is the again one more condition where the ostium primum defect here. Okay, we have seen the ostium secundum. So this is the septum primum defect or the ostium primum defect. Okay. So here this is the patent foramen oval, where the foramen oval will be open till birth. Okay, right atrium with the left atrium. This is the septum primum, this is the septum secundum. Now there is formation of foramen oval which closes after birth. Okay. Now here, if you see here, this is the fibrous skeleton of the heart. If you see here, this is the fibrous skeleton. So the same fibrous skeleton descends slightly downwards. The membranous portion of the interventricular septum. Initially, upper part, this part will be membranous, and the lower part, this is the muscular portion of the interventricular septum. This is the normal. Okay. So upper part will be membranous, and the lower part of the interventricular septum will be the muscular, and this is the skeleton of the heart. So this is the normal feature. Now what happens in the ventricles? So this septum has to develop. Okay, so as you can see here, in this condition still there is no formation of the septum. Okay, the ventricular septum. So how it develops? So the septum will develop, the interventricular septum will develop from the membranous part and the muscular part. So the muscular part is developing from below. Okay, muscular fourth septum here, and the left and right bulbar ridges from above all will join to form the septum like this. Okay, membranous part above and the muscular part below. Okay, sometimes it doesn't develop. So this is the left ventricle and this is the right ventricle, and here is the bulbous cord. This is the bulbous cordis with the infundibulum. So this communication between the right and left ventricle, now it has to close up here. So there should be formation of septum. Okay, so here if you can see here, initially it will be rounded atrioventricular canal. Okay, then there is formation of there is septum formation between the right and the left ventricle. So the endocardial cushions are being formed, superior as well as the inferior. They both join to form two separate canals, two separate chambers here, right and left. Okay. So the right atrioventricular canal and this is the left atrioventricular canal. This will form the right ventricle, this will form the left ventricle. Sometime, so if you see here, so this is the same septum which is developing between the two ventricles. So this septum will continue above even into the aorta and the pulmonary trunk. So initially both the aorta and the pulmonary trunk are joined together. So there is mixing of the deoxygenated air as well as the deoxygenated blood. Now with this septum being formed, there is this septum is being formed between the aorta and the pulmonary trunk. So they are getting separated. Just like the septum is formed below, which which is separating the two chambers. So the septum will continue above. Okay. So which is forming the future aorta, and this is the future pulmonary trunk. Okay. Now, if what happens if there is no formation of this kind of septum, ventricular septum, then it leads to a condition called as the ventricular septal defect. If the septum doesn't develop properly, then it leads to a condition called as the VSD, ventricular septal defect. And the most important among this will be a condition called as Fallet's tetralogy. Fallet's tetralogy. Tetralogy means 4. So there are 4 signs with which you can identify. Okay. One is the blood will be pumped from the right atrium into the ventricle. So if there is hypertrophy of the right ventricle. Okay. Then there is the ventricular septal defect. So the blood will be pumped from the right to the left. And if you see here, the pulmonary, there is pulmonary stenosis. The pulmonary artery has become small. So stenosis means narrowing. And the overriding of the aorta. Aorta is supposed to start from the left ventricle, but it opens from both the right and the left ventricle. This is called as the overriding of the aorta. These are the 4 signs of the Fallet's tetralogy. That's what it's called as tetra. Tetra means 4. Okay. One is hypertrophy of the right ventricle. Then there is ventricular septal defect. There is pulmonary stenosis and overriding of the aorta. If these 4 conditions are met, then it is a condition is called as the Fallet's tetralogy. Fallet's tetralogy. Okay. Then there is also a condition called as the persistent truncus arteriosus. I said there is a communication between the aorta. Here I showed you the communication. Okay. So communication between the pulmonary trunk and the aorta. This will be present for some time, then it will closes. But if it doesn't close, then it leads to a condition called as the persistent truncus arteriosus. This is the truncus arteriosus, which is communicating between the pulmonary trunk and the aorta with the association of the ventricular septal defect. So these are all defects of the ventricle. Okay, before we studied the atrial septal defect, ASDs. Now we are talking about the ventricle VSDs, ventricular septal defect. One is the Fallet's tetralogy, the most important, where there are 4 signs with which you can identify. Then we have the persistent truncus arteriosus, where there is communication between the pulmonary trunk and the aorta. Okay. Then sometimes there is something called as transposition of the great arteries. I said there is formation of a septum between the future aorta and the future pulmonary trunk. So during this formation of the septum between these 2 arteries, initially there will be 1 artery, as I said, 1 vessel. Okay, then they will separate into 2 vessels. So if during this formation of this septum formation, if there is formation is not proper, which will lead to ventricular septal defect, it will not continue properly above, and the aorta, instead of starting from the left ventricle, will start from the right ventricle. If you see here, this is the ascending aorta, which is starting from the right ventricle. And the pulmonary trunk is supposed to start from the right ventricle, but it will begin from the left ventricle. This is called as transposition. Transposition means reversing of the great arteries. So transposition of the great arteries, where the aorta begins from the right ventricle and the pulmonary trunk begins from the left ventricle. So all these are some of the defects, as well as the brief introduction to the development of the heart. So if you have any doubts regarding this, you can ask me now. Any doubts?
Doctor, but excuse me, how to aortic and the pulmonary arteries fuse together? I didn't understand this.
Okay, let me just, I will take the picture and then just wait. It will take your picture of attendance. Okay, you are asking how the septum is formed, right? Between the aorta and the pulmonary trunk. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So if you see here, there is development of a septum, as I said before. Okay. So this picture is there, endocardial cushion is there, from where the septum primum and secundum is formed here to the atria. Similarly, there is formation of a septum here in the ventricles. This is the muscular part, and from above there will be formation of the septum below, that is the membranous part. Okay, so if you see this picture, so below will be the muscular part, and from above there will be membranous part. So this septum is formed like this. From above there will be membranous part, below from the muscular part. So this septum, so if you can see here, these are the superior endocardial cushion, these are the inferior cardial cushion which are joining, okay, which will join together to form two separate uh, cavities. Okay, so if you see here, there is formation of this septum, same septum, membranous septum, and from below there will be muscular septum. Okay, there is formation of a muscular septum in between, and there are two chambers, the right ventricle and this is the left ventricle. Similarly, there is formation of a membranous septum from above downwards. It will go down. When it is going down, it is also continuing up. Initially, as I said, there will be a single vessel. Okay, then now there is formation of a septum. You see here, there is twisting and turning and formation of a septum. They are getting separated. Okay, so this separation will separate it into the aorta and the pulmonary trunk. Okay, so this septum will separate the vessel coming from the ventricle, right ventricle, it will form the pulmonary trunk, and from the left ventricle, it forms the aorta. So if there is any defect in the formation of the septum, then it leads to the transposition of the vessel, where the aorta will begin from the right ventricle and the pulmonary trunk will begin from the left ventricle. So this is the membranous structure which will form the septum for the ventricle, also continue into the vessels, same septum. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
anything else?
Thank you, doctor.
Okay, thank you very much.